What if I told you America's most booming empire, the railroad? Its major hub? Well, not New York, or Atlanta, or even Chicago, but right here in the small town in North Carolina, Spencer, North Carolina. This is the North Carolina Transportation Museum in Spencer, and we are super excited to be here. This is a site where thousands of people came and spent their lives working to make a living so that America's transportation empire could skyrocket and boom and spread across the country and even around the globe. On this episode of Echoes of Freedom, you're going to find out exactly what happened here at the North Carolina Transportation Museum. You hear that? That's the Echoes of Freedom. What's up, historians? Today we are standing at the North Carolina Transportation Museum, one of the most unique museums in the country. This isn't just a museum about trains, it's a museum built inside history itself. The museum sits on the grounds of the former Southern Railway Spencer Shops, one of the largest steam locomotive servicing facilities on the Southern Railway's network and one of the most important railroad repair centers in the Southeast. So, why Spencer? In the 1890s, the railroads were the lifeblood of America. They carried passengers, mail, livestock, coal, tobacco, and textiles, much like we saw last week in our episode about the tobacco plants there in Winston. The tobacco facilities there in Winston-Salem, they used the railroad just like this to move those tobacco products around the country. Everything was moved by rail. Southern Railway owner J.P. Morgan selected Spencer because it sat almost exactly halfway between the railroad's major terminals in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, Georgia. Construction of the shops, and you can see them behind me here, construction of the shops began in 1896, and the town of Spencer grew around them. Imagine that. An entire community built around keeping trains running. So let's talk about the age of steam now. At its peak, Spencer Shop employed thousands of workers. Every day, locomotives rolled into these buildings for inspection, maintenance, and complete overhauls. Boilers were built, wheels were replaced, engines were repaired, and these weren't minor fixes. Steam locomotives were massive machines requiring constant maintenance, and the workers here became some of the most skilled railroad craftsmen in the nation. One historian describes Spencer as the place where the heroes behind the scenes worked, and the people who made every freight and passenger train possible. So the roundhouse, it's off in the distance. You just can't see it from where we're standing right here on the grounds of this facility. But the roundhouse perhaps is the most impressive structure of the property, and it's called the Bob Julian Roundhouse. It was built in 1924 and featured 37 stalls surrounding a massive 100-foot turntable. Locomotives could be rotated and directed into individual bays for repairs. Standing inside the roundhouse today is an incredible experience. I've been in there, and it's such an incredible experience. You've got to come check it out. You can almost hear the hammer striking steel, steam escaping valves, mechanics shouting instructions, and locomotives rumbling to life. I'm going to throw my glasses back on so I can see my notes here. The roundhouse is considered one of the largest surviving railroad roundhouses in North America. And this is just an awesome property. You can see the tracks I don't know if you can see it from there, but I'll walk over here and just give you a tour of what we can see from where we are filming from. But you can see, got some rail cars over there, a couple more there, the big factory working with that they worked in, and all this other stuff. It's all set up. We're going to move over to another piece here in just a moment. But that's setting the scene for where we are at here today. So, this place, though, it's more than trains. While railroads are the heart of the museum, transportation history does not stop there. The museum also explores automobiles, aviation, trucking, and public transportation. Inside the back shop and other exhibit buildings, you'll find everything from antique automobiles all the way to aviation exhibits, showing how transportation evolved throughout the 20th century. And this is a place where when you step on the property, you can hear the echoes of freedom ringing out all across the grounds. Just thinking about the whistles blowing, the engines pumping on those steam locomotives. They've got right behind us the depot where you board the trains. We're going to shoot there in just a moment. But they've got the depot and it's playing music like you would have heard when you rolled up to board your train to wherever destination you were going to. This place is full of history that rings out echoes of freedom even to this day. And it's all because transportation isn't just about vehicles, it's about how people and ideas move. At its height, Spencer shops operated like a small industrial city. There were machine shops, blacksmith shops, warehouses, offices, and repair facilities. Thousands of workers reported here daily. Families also depended on these jobs to make a living and make ends meet. Entire generations built their lives around the railroad. For many people in Rowan County, Spencer shops wasn't just where they worked, it was who they were. We're going to move over to the depot as we begin to wrap this up here at the North Carolina Transportation Museum and Facility. I'm just going to take one more look at this beautiful facility here behind me. And all the trains and trucking and everything else this facility has to offer. Such a beautiful sight here as I continue just to pan you around one more time. We'll make our way over behind us. We're going to be making our way right over there to the depot. I'll see you in just a moment. All right, so we're sitting here now in front of the Barber Junction station here at the North Carolina Transportation Museum, and let's wrap up our story. So diesel locomotives came after the steam engine, and it's going to eventually replace all of the steam locomotives throughout the country as diesel was more efficient to run, quicker to run, and quite stronger, much more stronger than the standard steam locomotives. By the mid-20th century, steam engines were becoming obsolete. Diesel engines required far less maintenance, and facilities like Spencer shops were no longer needed on the same scale. Eventually, the shops were closed and decommissioned. What could have become another abandoned industrial site instead became something remarkable, a museum preserving North Carolina's most important transportation landmarks. So the North Carolina Transportation Museum tells a bigger story than trains. It's about innovation, industry, work, and the people who kept America connected. Every locomotive repaired here helped move goods, passengers, and opportunities all throughout the South. And this site helps power economic growth throughout North Carolina and far beyond. So standing here today, it's easy to admire locomotives. Y'all can hear the music in the background, I hope. It sets the mood just right as we listen to the echoes of freedom of this powerful site. But it's easy to admire the locomotives, the giant turntable, the historic buildings. But the real story is the people, the machinists, the boilermakers, the engineers, the conductors, the thousands of workers who came here every day just to keep America moving. So don't forget, historians, that before airplanes connected the world and before interstate highways crossed the country, railroads were the arteries of America. And places like Spencer were the beating heart that kept them moving. And it all comes back to the invention of the steam locomotive and Abraham Lincoln's big plan of constructing a transcontinental railroad that would connect the East to the West to allow people all across the nation to ship their goods and services along from one coast to the other. I'm Smith McNeil. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Echoes of Freedom. You can learn more at our website, www.echoesoffreedom.us, and we will see you on the next adventure.